Let's say that you're married and you have 2 kids and you've invested a good amount of time and energy and hope in them. To your daughter, you don't have to say much. And maybe it's the girls are much better living life than men are, perhaps. So your daughter follows in your footsteps. But your son, it doesn't matter which path you put him on, he always rebels and revolts and fights you. He is what we generally categorize as the black sheep of the family. He doesn't listen to anyone. He's one of those fellows that has to go through life all by himself, bang his head to the wall 5 or 15 or 20 times. No one can teach him except life itself. And he has to wait and wait and wait until there is something about him that says, okay, it's time for you to stop, sit back, examine, reflect, process, and approach life differently. Now, one of the things about tradition is that it creates cohesion. Without structure, society won't survive. That's one of the things. The problem with structure is that once in a while you have free-spirited human beings. They have wings and they have voices and they want to shout and they want to fly and they want to sing. But tradition says no. You know, one of the nice things about the story of Romeo and Juliet is that you don't have courtly love. We don't have romantic love. First, you have economic factors, then you have social factors, then you have religious factors, then you have the reputation behind your name. It has value. And so you have this kid looks at this other kid, falls in love. I mean, add to the fact that Romeo is like 14 and Juliet is 12. And maybe people were born to be far more mature than people today, but nevertheless. And it's not like they go out to peace like for 2, 3, 4, 5 months and they say, wow, I really like who I'm with. It's like you look at someone, you fall in love. But this is a taboo. And even though they're both rebellious against certain traditions, they realize that they live in a social milieu that's not going to accept them. Now, you have a couple of options. You can very much like Romeo and Juliet, just end your life, literally. You can end your life metaphorically in the sense that you say, I love my dad, I love my mom, and I love my family, but they're no good for me. They can't hear me. They can't see me. I'm invisible. And I'm going to leave. And so from that point on, you become an orphan. If not physically, definitely emotionally and intellectually. And though you may live under the same roof, you have no relationship to them. The problem with also being an outcast is that for the past 5,000 years, in a variety of different cultures, what they have done is they have created narratives. Bhagavad Gita connects people together. They all go to the same temple. Agni means something to them. Krishna means something to them. The moment you walk away from that, those sacred texts no longer mean anything to you. The culture has spent 2, 3, 4,000 years creating a narrative. It's like a relationship. I go out with you, we get married, we have kids, our life is really, really good. And one day you just come to me and say, Amir, I don't love you anymore, I'm walking out. 20 years of a relationship, story making, it's sacred, right? And nothing holds you. It means that 20 years of work, all of a sudden is trashed in like a minute. It is true that I will suffer and the kids will suffer, but you're walking into this unknown environments now. And let's just say that you're walking away from the relationship not because you fall in love with anyone outside the marriage. You just no longer fit this relationship. You have outgrown it. Where do you go now? What do you do with all this free time now? You didn't think about those things. All you know is that there is no husband to hold you back, no kids to hold you back, no house, no chores to hold you back. You have all this free space. What are you going to put in this bucket? And it's not going to be a clean cut. You're going to think about what you've done to the rest of your people. You're going to feel guilty. Once in a while, religious sentiments are going to come to the top and say, what are God's going to think of me? What's going to happen to the kids? So lots of things to overcome. So whenever you become an outcast, you lose really 5,000 years of tradition and culture. You're all alone. And in this day and age, most likely, they'll probably get chronically depressed, become homeless, because it's not a culture that appreciates mavericks like that. And there are no narratives for that. I mean, you need to understand that stories take a long, long time to be created. There is nothing wrong with being gay. There is nothing wrong with being trans. But you need to understand when you go outside of those narratives, you have to wait and wait and wait for proper stories to be created. So when you realize you're not like other people, there is a myth, a certain set of myths you can attach yourself to. They're like your roadmaps to life. And so what happens is you become a casualty in the system, in a system that doesn't have the right narratives. And so you have to create, but you don't know which ones to create. You don't know which ones are good, which ones are bad. So you just fall on the wayside. There is a book you may be interested in. Eric Fromm wrote this book called Escape from Freedom. When you walk away from everything, from history, from culture, from myths, from narratives, you're free. And it's a burden because you have to do something with it. But when you find your freedom, you have found a good many things to be meaningless. So you have no idea what you latch yourself to. You know, it's like many stories that come out of New York, people who escape prison, walk the town and it's like a zoo. And they call the cops and say, yeah, you know, I escaped from prison. Can someone take me back, please? I have no idea what to do here. People are nuts. There is another thing that mature people do. It's a beautiful saying that was mentioned some 2,000 years ago. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God. If you have difficulties with the religious language, let me give it to you this way. Your body belongs to the world, to the social world, political world, the religious world that sustains whatever it is out there, your family, the politics of life. That's Caesar. Make money because you got to pay rent. If your kids cry, wake up and give them food. If once in a while your husband says, I want to be intimate, even if you don't want to. You hate the class, who gives a shit? Stay in it, get an A, B, C, and graduate. That's the world of Caesar. Respect it. And you have to respect it because you understand it. It has power over you. If you misstep, you'll be homeless. Then you'll be ruined for life. The world of Caesar is important. You can't be a hippie. It doesn't work. So when you go home and you realize you've entered Rome, when your husband asks, so how are you doing? I love you. But whisper when no one's hearing into your own ears, you really don't. When the kids want something, gladly run to them, take care of their needs, and whisper to yourself, bastards. No one needs to know, just you. Because now that you become an outcast, something about you has risen. That's called the voice of conscience. There are things you see, and you feel guilty for serving Rome. When everybody goes to sleep, and if Rome hasn't completely taken all of your energy, you turn on your laptop and you write a poem. That's the world of God. That's you. That's your creativity. There is a good chance that the world of Rome will have taken everything away from you. So at 9 o'clock, when your husband is passed out and your kids are passed out, you have this inspired moment where you say, I want to go read. I want to go just sit and focus on my breathing. But your body belongs to Rome and it's exhausted. And the moment you walk to the back room to sit, close your eyes and just take some time to yourself, you say, screw it, I'm just going to rest. And then once you realize that the creative voice inside you has been silenced because of the chores of life, you walk through life with a good amount of bitterness, regret, anger, but you function in a very civilized way. Always say hello to your husband, to your wife, to your kids, pay rent. At the same time, you know it's a joke, but there isn't much you can do.